How's it going? It's Drew Blazik here, and this lecture is going to be on chapter four. Right below here is the Excel sheet for you to download, follow along. And again, all I'm going to look at if the cells are lit up green, which means you did it correct. Again, it's your responsibility to look through chapter four's PowerPoints. Make sure you go through the whole thing. I'm not going to cover everything in here, but hopefully this lecture will give you a good understanding on demand. Let's get right to it. Okay, here's the Excel sheet we have. The first one, we got four tabs here for demand, supply and demand. So we got, so what we have here is we have four individuals. We got Fred, Sarah, Kenny, and Billy Bob. Here's the price of the good. And then this is the quantity demanded. And that's what this is down here. These are the quantity demanded that go with a specific price. So let me just you have to know the definition of demand. Demand is the relationship of prices and quantity demanded. In other words, when I paste in here, it will make a lot more sense. Demand is all prices. So your demand is, would you buy Monster Energy drink for $2, $3? How many would you buy at a specific price? That's what demand is. So what we're going to do here is I'm going to copy all these and I'm going to paste it here. Um, Now, what I'm using is Alt ES, Alt ES. That will give you, or you could hit paste. You could right click paste. I'm just going to paste in values so it doesn't mess up the format. It's not a big deal. You just need the numbers in there. You can type it in, or you can right click there. You hit paste, try to find the values right there. That's values, the one, two, three. Again, MacBook is a little different where it's located. So, all right. So this is what's going on here. As you can see, here's our demand curve, which I just created. And what you got is this is the demand curve for each one. Curves are always downward sloping. It's because it has an inverse related uh, uh, relationship between quantity demanded and price. What does that mean? It means if the price goes up, you buy less of the good. It's negative relationship. Price goes up, quantity goes down. Price goes down, I purchase more of the good. It goes up. And there you go. You got Fred, Sarah, Kenny, and Billy Bob. They're all downward sloping demand curves. And that is correct. It shows this is the entire demand curve, right? For Fred, there's the price, the whole demand is the curve. Demand is a relationship of all the prices and the quantity demanded. All right. Next step, what we want to figure out is what is the market demand? Well, the market demand is the quantity demanded summed up. That's the market demand. So what I'm going to say is equals a couple ways of doing this. I can go this and hit plus this cell plus this cell plus this cell. That's one way of doing it. Now it's correct 94. So the market demand at a price of $1 is 94, is when we add up all individuals. So this is important. When we look at market demand, we're summing up quantity, but the price stays the same. That does not change. Once you did that, once you added all those up, what I could do is do it each time. And here's a shortcut. If I go on to that cell, I could drag it. Since I did a calculation, I'm going to drag that bottom left corner and just drag it down. And now that's summed up all the market demand for the quantity demanded for those four individuals. Sorry, for some reason it wasn't coming up. I had to correct it with the graph. I don't know why it didn't come up, but on your end it should come up. I'm just going to double check if I delete that. Uh, oh, let's see what happens. I'm going to delete all those. It goes away. And if I reverse it, it comes back. Okay, looks good. There's the market demand. So just want to break it down. Those are the individuals. See how the prices stay the same, prices stay the same. And now the market is different. It's all now it's on a different scale. It's all quantity demand is added up. The market demand is just that. And it's showing all four of those individuals. And there we have the demand curve downward sloping in that regard. I'm just going to put a nice little arrow at the end of it. Oh, that's not what I wanted. We'll put it right at the end. So that looks like a good market demand curve. So that's the first thing is demand curve. Again, it's an inverse relationship. It's downward sloping, which means that the price goes down. We want more of it. And you see how it's here's prices. Prices go down, and you go along that price. You see we want more quantity demanded. Price goes up, I'm going to buy less of it, right? If Rockstar went to $30 a can, no one would buy it. All right, let's try the supply curve. Now, the supply curve is somewhat similar to the demand curve with definitions. It's a relationship of all prices and quantity. That's the definition of the supply curve. But you have to think of a supplier. Like if you're selling, let's say, lemonade outside your house and you're selling it for 25 cents a cup, you would sell X amount of lemonade cups. Now, if people are willing to give you $100 a lemonade, I probably would quit my job and start selling lemonade full time. Therefore, I would supply a lot more lemonade. I would quit what I'm doing. My opportunity cost goes down technically. If I'm making more money doing this, the alternative goes down. Remember, what you give up divided by what you get. Now, if the price goes down, the opportunity cost gets more expensive because what I could be doing and what I'm getting is less, and what I could be doing seems more significant more in that regard. So let's do the same thing. I'm going to paste all those values. We got firm A, firm B, C, and D. And I'm going to copy, go right there. I'm going to do the values. And now what we have here is we have the supply of each firm. Um, and it's important to see it's upward sloping. Again, it's upward sloping. If you pay a firm more money, they will supply more of it. If you pay them less money, they'll supply less. So, for example, if they can get a Ford Focus, if, Ford Motor Company only can get 5,000 a car, they wouldn't make those anymore. They would instead go into let's say the F-150 that can make more money for them. But if everybody's willing to pay more money for the Ford Focus, they would supply more. So it's upward sloping. All right, so we want to find out what's the market supply. Well, that's the same thing. It's the sum. Now, what I'm going to do here, instead of adding those up, I did equals. I typed in sum, and then I hit tab. I'm into the function. You could tell when it has those numbers. All you have to do is add, highlight. I click it. I highlight those, and that would be the sum of all those values. I'm going to go down, and there's our supply curve. There's our supply curve of our quantity. And again, the price does not change. The output does change because at a specific price, we are supplying more. All we do is add up all those. So that's the market supply of a good. Again, upward slope. When price goes up, I supply more. Again, go to the PowerPoint, look at the definitions, understand what they mean. Okay, next we're going to look at supply and demand. We're going to look at how to figure this out. All right, I'm going to spend a little more time on this one. This one's going to be a little more complicated, I would say. Um, so we got a demand curve, and what would I have here is I have an equation, and this might be outside of the realm of the textbook, but if you pursue anything in economics, this would be important, but just follow along what I'm doing here. The demand curve. This is the function, this is the equation to use. Quantity demanded equals a y-intercept, and we're going to type that in, intersect, which, one sec. All right, so what we want to do is this is an equation that's quantity demanded is equal to the y-intercept on our function. You know what? Hold on. I made sure all the math was right as I made sure the spelling was correct. So forgive me on that one. Okay, now we're where we should be. Okay, quantity demanded. This is the equation that you use for is equal to some y-intercept of some sort. All it means is where would it be, and then so it's going to equal some slope. That's at zero, the slope times the price. So the y-intercept is if the price is zero, how much of that good will we sell technically? So let's just put a value there. This is for the demand curve. I'm going to say 36. So it's saying the quantity demanded is equal to 36 minus. Now we want to know how much does it slope. Now again, it's minus because it is inversely related to price. So I had to have a minus. I'm just going to put 2 there. So what we have here is quantity demanded is equal to 36 minus 2. So quantity demanded, and you could, I think you could plug in any number. It doesn't really matter. It will light up green if that's correct. But you could type in, feel free that a demand curve that has a 4 slope, which means what is that saying? If the price goes up by 1, the quantity demanded changes by 4. That's what that slope would signify. And again, this might be a little outside the realm of that chapter, but follow along and you get a better, I believe, understanding. Now let's look at the supply curve equation. That's gonna be a y-intercept, we'll say of 2, means that if the price was 0, how many would supply? It's gonna be a lot less, right? Because it's inverse or it's a positive relationship. It's the opposite of demand. And now let's do a slope. I'm gonna say 2 as well. So this is our equation here for demand is 36 minus 2, and then supply is a positive relationship with price. That means they do the same thing. That means if price goes up, my quantity supplied goes up. If price goes up on demand, my quantity supply demanded goes down. Okay, so we got that. We got the equations there. Now, next we want to do is let's fill in our table. Here's the price. And then all we're going to do is plug in our equation to find the quantity demanded of that price. Okay, so I have the quantity demanded equation here. So I'm going to say equals, what is that? The slope of 36. Okay, 36. And here's a little trick. I don't remember on the Mac. It's function F4. I think it's control command something T. I don't remember on it. But what you want to do is I'm going to drag this down. So you want dollar signs um, in front of that number 5. You want a dollar sign there. Okay. That's so if I drag it down, I think I did that last video. If I drag it down, I don't want this to move. I want to make this an absolute value, which is just always 36, and that's true. So I'm going to say that. I'm going to say minus, right? Our equation is 36. I select that cell, minus, and now we'll do the slope too. I always want the slope, so I'm going to put dollar signs in front of the slope, and then I'm going to multiply that times the price. I don't want a dollar sign there because when I drag it down, I want each individual price. Now you don't have to do this. You could do it individually for each cell. Might take a little longer, but you could do that. So now what this is going to do, this is going to grow our demand curve, our quantity demanded, our table here. And there's our demand curve. So if I click on it, look what it's doing. It is our equation. It is the slope minus, I'm sorry, the y-intercept minus the slope times that price. Again, you want dollar signs in front of the slope and the y-intercept because I don't want to drag it down, but I do want that price to drag down. And there is our quantity demanded for the price. Or I'm sorry, quantity demanded. according to that equation for each individual price. Now let's do supply. I'm going to equal. We want this equation here. Quantity supplied is equal to the y-intercept of 2, right? I'm going to put function of 4. I want to freeze that, absolute. So it's fixed. It does not shift down. And now this is going to be a plus. Supply is a direct relationship. And that's going to be the slope function. I'm going to freeze it again, put dollar signs. And again, you could just click in there and put a dollar sign, or go to AI and ask, what is the MAC? I believe it might be Command F4. I don't remember exactly. And then we're going to multiply that times, I'm going to shift that little star button times that price. So we're going to do each individual one. That's correct. I'm going to drag that down. So what I do is I hit Control D for a drag down, but what you could have done is just drag that like this. That would do the same thing. Okay, so we got our equation there. So I just want to talk about this graph really quick. Is we got a supply and demand graph. We got the demand curve going down, supply curve. So if you read the PowerPoint or the chapter, you know that the equilibrium is where QD equals QS. That's right there. So we can see it's going to be somewhere around 18, quantity 18 at a price of, I can't tell, $9 or something like that. We can figure that out in a second. That's the market. That's what it is. That's what the market is saying for the price and quantity. If the price is above that, you know what? I'm going to insert something really quick just to demonstrate what I mean by this. I'm going to do a nice line. So if the price is above equilibrium, look what's going on. Quantity demanded is higher than quantity supplied. So if you have more supplied than demanded at a higher price, firms are willing to supply more than what people want to purchase for. You have a surplus of goods. And then if you go below that, the price is below equilibrium. Now, quantity demanded is higher than quantity supplied, right? At lower price, firms do not want to make the good, but us as consumer, we're willing to do it. That's a shortage. When you have a shortage, price goes up. When you have a surplus, price goes down until you get to equilibrium. That's an important thing to see. All right, let's solve this really quick. Let's find out what is the price and quantity. So this is what I kind of typed up here. We'll see them pop up. So I typed up, have quantity demanded on the left side and quantity supplied on the right side. So all I'm saying is quantity demanded is equal to quantity supplied, right? I want to find out where they're equal to each other, right? At that point, quantity supplied and demanded are equal. So if I put those two functions together, that's going to equal demands on the left side, supply 36 minus 2p equals 2 plus 2p. So we did everything right there. See how I did that? That's our equation to say quantity demanded equals quantity supplied. Now all we're going to do is solve price. I'm going to solve what price is. And you can see what I'm going to do. I'm going to throw price on the right side. I'm going to put that y-intercept on the left side. So I see if I subtract 2 both sides, that's going to be 34. And then I'm going to add 2p on both sides, and that's going to be 4p. So now we're going to say, what is p on the right side? I'm going to add, I'm going to put a 4, so that'll be 4p, because we have plus 2p on this side would be 4p. And now we want to know what's the y-intercept. In other words, I want to know what's on the left side. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to subtract both sides by 2. That's going to be 34. Now our equation looks like this, right? 34 equals 4p. And now we want to know, solve for price. We're just going to solve for price. So I'm going to say equals. So I'm going to say it's to get p by itself, I'm going to divide both sides by 4 to get rid of that 4. So that's going to be 34 divided by 4. So the price is 850, 850. So right at that equal point is $8.50. And now we want to solve, what is the equilibrium quantity? Well, if we already have price and they're equal to each other, all you're going to do is plug in that 850 in any of these two equations. And that will give us quantity because they equal each other. It doesn't matter which one you plug in. So let's plug that in. I'm going to do the supply one. You could do either one. It'd be the same thing. I'm going to equals, and that's going to be 2 plus 2 times that price, right? There's equilibrium quantity. So what we have here, I was trying to do it in Excel. It's a little more difficult to show it that way. I tried really hard. That price going across is $8.50. That's equilibrium price and quantity. And then you have quantity is 19. So it's right about there. It's important you must multiply it times the 850 because if I change these values, this 850 might be 8.5012, might have decimals, and Excel must have the exact value. Okay, off to the last part here. And my spelling is way off on this stuff here. Sorry, I'm correcting it right now. But I'm so focused on numbers, I just type it in real quick sometimes. But okay, I want to show this one really quick. And I was trying to work on it as best I can and wasn't coming out exactly how I liked, how I wanted it. It's because of this one right here. It's not doing it justice, I would say. So what we have here is the same thing what we just did. I have everything solved. But what I want to show you was, what if we have a change in demand, a change in supply? This is really important in chapter 4. I'm not covering all the changes. You got to look at what can change supply. What's really important is a change in price does not shift the supply or demand curve. A change in price only changes the quantity demanded. But remember, the definition of demand is the entire thing. However, if we want to know, does demand change? That means at a specific price, do we want more or less quantity demanded? Okay. So what I did here was, it's a simple equation. It doesn't look simple, but all I did was, what if we add 5 or take 5 away? So let's say I add 5. So it's always 5 more than this. Again, ignore that. If you add 5, you see that the change in demand shifted, this is important, to the right. It shifted to the right. If I add 5, we increased it by 5. If I if I take away 5, let's say subtract 5, that's a shift to the left. It shifted to the left. Let's review this real quick. If it shifts to the left, this is our equilibrium. This is our new equilibrium. Ignore that green. I don't know how to get rid of it. Look what happens. The price goes down if it shifts to the left and quantity goes down. Look what happens when we have a positive increase in demand. It shifts to the right. Price goes up and quantity goes up. That's real important. So if demand increases, it shifts to the right. So you have those 5 things that could cause it: an increased population. You have price-related goods. You have to look at it. You have preferences. You got to see what a positive shift is. In other words, would you want to purchase more of it at the same price? That's an increase in demand. If I want less of it, I'm going to put a negative. Let's do a -10. That means I want less of it, and it shifts to the left. So you can see how that works. Or I want a positive. I want more at the same price. And look what's going on. At the same price we were right here, I want more quantity demanded. It shifted all the way to the right. And that what does that do? If we want more of it, the firms must have more money. They must charge more to increase production, so the price goes up. Let's look what happens with supply. Let's say we have a positive shift in supply. I'm going to increase it by 10. Look what happens there. Supply, the change in supply is the green line. It increased to the right. It shifted to the right. That means at the same price, we're going to supply more, right? It shifted to the right. At the same price, shifted to the right. What happens if we want to supply more? Well, in order to sell it, it goes down the demand curve. You have to drop the price. So if a company figures out a way with technology and they increase technology, that shifts the supply curve to the right, or capital, and they drop the price. Happens with TVs. TVs are cheaper nowadays. So if you can increase the way you produce something, you supply more of it, and in order to sell more, you must drop the price, the law of demand, and people will consume more. Well, let's look what happens if demand shifts to the left. That's a negative. Look, it shifts to the left. Again, ignore that curve. So this is the original supply curve. This is the new one, the green, and it's shifted to the left. If it shifts to the left, well, they're supplying less of it. They're supplying less of it. So in order to sell that, they're going to raise the price. They're going to raise the price of the good. So a supply that has a negative shift is going to increase the price and decrease the quantity. If it has a positive shift, it's going to drop the price yet increase output. Again, let's go back to demand. If we have a negative um, if we have a negative impact in demand, that's going to drop the price, drop quantity. We went from this purple to that blue. And if we have a positive increase, that shifted to the right, it's going to increase quantity and increase price. Um, so, this part, there's nothing really to do other than you could play around with it. So really, it's these first ones I need to see lit up in green. Oh yeah, I think that's it. Any questions, please let me know, and I will see you in the next video.